All right, joining us this morning is a social commentator, Bola Oba. Good morning, and thanks for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning, ladies.
All right, so how does this come to you when federal government agrees to pay 88 billion naira to what they refer to as true victims of the Nigeria, civil war? Who really are the true victims?
Before getting to how it comes to me, I must state that I am one who is very gladdened with the fact that some citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria who believe that their lives were disrupted and the quality of lives they've subsequently had after the Civil War has been affected, had the courage of character to litigate on this. We must realize in Africa that until we challenge the integrity of our democracy through litigations like this, respect for the human being will not be well entrenched. That is my first source of joy. The second source of joy is that the Nigerian government, more so under this president, has deemed it fit to do what respectable governments all over the world, do when the lives of human beings and the fundamental rights of human beings are affected, be they your citizens or residents. It is incumbent on you, especially people at the executive arm of government, to find a way of engaging with them to let them know that they are neither arrogant nor distant from issues affecting their people. So I'm also, in that respect, glad.
Yes.
I must, however, accentuate the fact that it is easy for some jingoists to want to latch on this and want to see it as a victory for the southeast of Nigeria. If you look at the particulars of the case, they said southeast, south-south, and those two geopolitical regions used to constitute the southeastern part of Nigeria and parts of the middle belt, places like Benue, because they are contiguous to this thing, and the war activities literally affected them too. So I'm sitting here as a Nigerian telling the jingoists, the average jingoists who may want to abuse this, to see that this is actually a victory for the citizen of Nigeria.
And even looking at it, that the government even decided and chose to settle out of court, that for many past administrations, that yes, the Civil War was tagged no victor, no vanquished. So many would have expected that the governments of the past would have done right by the people of that region affected by the Civil War, but that didn't happen. But the president's administration opted to settle out of court, agreeing that truly these people were badly affected. So like you're saying, that it is not about politics, it's not about you saying that yes, these are the spoils of war, we are on the right or wrong. It is about the people. Now let's look at the importance of implementing this, because this money, the first batch, will be given to the agreed representative to be disbursed to the victims. How important is it that they are adequately disbursed to get to the true victims of the war?
Before we get to
if we're able to define the true victims in the first place.
Before we get to the money, it is also imperative to also emphasize the fact that allowing for the fact that incompetence, inefficiency, and indeed maybe lack of good judgment may have defined the activities of past administrations. I'm not saying government now. Government is a continuum.
Yes.
Administrations do end. The general predisposition of the government of Nigeria then was that we were going to go into a festival of reconciliation, rehabilitation, but we know that government agencies don't quite live up to responsibilities in this part of the world. So I am sitting there feeling, you know what, maybe it was not deliberate that those axles, munitions and this thing, they were yet to explode, were not taken care of. Maybe it was not deliberate. Maybe these were results of
47 years.
And we do have a lot. If you want me to be itemizing issues on which governance has failed across the board in Africa, and specifically in Nigeria, my sister, you will shake more than your head.
Okay, so let's go back to the 3 R's you talked about, which was a promise of government at the time the war ended: reconciliation, reconstruction, and of course rehabilitation. I know not too long ago, Senator Godswill Akpabio asked the pertinent question as to what exactly has happened to the 3 R's. Will this gesture from the...
And we do have a lot. If you want me to be itemizing issues on which governance has failed across the board in Africa, and specifically in Nigeria, my sister, you will shake more than your head.
Okay, so let's go back to the 3 R's you talked about, which was a promise of government at the time the war ended: reconciliation, reconstruction, and of course rehabilitation. I know not too long ago, Senator Godswill Akpabio asked the pertinent question as to what exactly has happened to the 3 R's. Will this gesture from this president, President Buhari, replace the 3 R's? Is it enough? How far will it go?
This gesture, I wouldn't ordinarily want President Buhari to take the ultimate glory of this. I would rather want the litigants.
Okay.
The litigants to take the glory of it, because they challenged the system.
Yes.
Now, we must also concede to the fact that President Buhari has been gracious enough to instruct the Attorney General that they could eat a kind of conciliatory arrangement with the litigants. However, sitting here as a Nigerian, aboriginally from the southwestern part of Nigeria, I cannot say that we have done enough for the 3 R's, especially if one were to just oppose the infrastructural deficit of the southeastern part of Nigeria and the southern part of Nigeria today relative to other parts of Nigeria. Other parts of Nigeria are not Eldorados
either.
But having said that, I tell my Yoruba friends that until you get to the South-South and you see the enormous ecological and environmental disgrace that the Nigerian administrations over the years have allowed to manifest there, that it has taken the United Nations to want to help us to clean our debt, the debt for which we've squandered largely the money. And if you go to the southeast of Nigeria and you see the debilitating state of infrastructure, not that infrastructure is that glorious in the southwest or in the north central or northwest or northeast too. We know what's happening in the northeast. But the 3 R's, by any critical student of contemporary Nigerian history, could not have been said to have been well implemented. But you know what? We can also then talk to an average jingoist that calm it, because it is just the failure of governance across the board.
Okay, now many wonder really. I don't know if you're wondering too why it is this time around that it seems that the government is interested in the, apart from this. Recall that of course the police officers that served during the Civil War from that region will be paid their pension, and some are saying that this is just a calculated move, really, to douse the tension from that region because of the growing agitation for the sovereign state of Biafra this time around.
It may be. I, as a political analyst, sometimes want to also recognize the fact that decisions such as these may also have been encouraged by political exigencies and contemporary happenings. So I cannot sit here and totally discountenance the fact that maybe the assertiveness of some elements from that part of the country may have instructed this. But I also want to believe that grace should be recognized, grace should be encouraged, and grace should be respected.
So is it a case of the Machiavellian principle that says the end justifies the means? If the agitations could lead to the seeming, redirection of focus from this government that has been perceived, especially from the people of the Southeast, not to be Southeast friendly, for want of a better expression. Of course, we talked about the pensions funds. Well, like Bob Marley said, your best friend could actually be your worst enemy, and your worst enemy your best friend. Is Buhari proving to be the best friend of Ndibo right now with these gestures, the payment of pension arrears, unpaid, pensions for given police officers, and of course this 88 billion?
As a Nigerian, I would rather want to celebrate the fact that the right thing, though belated, but the right thing has been done. As a student of contemporary Nigerian history, I am not too enamored with the body language and the panoramic political conduct of this president as it relates to southeastern part of Nigeria. How would, I was asking a friend the other day, as a Yoruba man, how would you have felt when the board of the NMPC was constituted and no single Yoruba person was there? Just imagine. The Yoruba person, and I was saying, if you were to be a Southeasterner, how would you have felt? No, so are you telling me that in today's Nigeria, with the body of knowledge residual in that part of Nigeria, and given the intellectual and entrepreneurial accomplishments of many individuals across the world, that this administration cannot find one eligible Nigerian from that part of the country to be a board member of NMPC? Look, a friend of mine who is a bit the former Secretary General, the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, yes, was sacked, and another competent Nigerian was appointed. But I was telling myself quietly, how could it have turned out if President Muhammadu Buhari had looked for a competent APC stalwart from that part of the country to be made the SGA? From the Southeast, of course, you mean.
So what you're saying in essence is empathy in governance will go a long way. Empathy in terms of put yourself in the other person's shoes, and maybe that will give you a sense of how it feels when it comes to the sense of inclusion, the cries of marginalization, which the Southeast have been crying about. I just wish I was over the years. Oh, because you got the phrase, you got the phrase right. Because at the end of the day, we are all Nigerians, and when a group of people tend to want to believe that there is a body of circumstances, situations, events, and decisions showing them that they are sort of a lesser member of the team, they are not going to be generally happy. And the irony is that I tell my individual friends that the irony is that, I just did a tour of some border states because I've got some business interests there. Katsina, Kano, Kaduna, Abuja. And the irony is that upon all the perceived, and perception is important in politics. There's still a lot of poverty in those places? Yes. Profound, far more profound than what you get averagely
in the Southeast.
All right. So looking at all of this and the move made just recently now by the government, of course you would say that it's just about the effort to right the wrong of the past. So looking ahead, what should the present administration be doing? Because we still have leaders of Indigo saying that no matter what they do, it's not enough. After the agreement to pay the pension of police officers, that they need to be given active roles in this administration and, of course, in Nigeria. So looking ahead, what should be given to the Southeastern people for them to assuage them and then let them know that they are truly part of this country?
We are compelled by the nature of our discussion now to be veering away from the original issue.
Well, it's all about it, because if you look at the past, you have to project. You have to project.
And I will use the original issue to balance the shape of our discussion now. I think it is now incumbent on this administration, and indeed administrations that may come in the future, to be a bit more proactive, more creative, more initialize such ideas without being compelled by the courageous and heroic efforts of some Nigerians who are victims or who turned out to be victims of the menace of the war. Of the menace of the war. Agitating for their rights for the government to concede.
So what you're saying, in other words, is there's a need for whether this present government and governments down the line in future to come up with a question or the solution of the Nigerian question, the nationhood.
Have we rightly worked out the 3 R's? Why should a government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria be compelled to go and remove explosives from schools?
Farms.
No, 47 years
after.
You know, and it tells you that as a people, we need to up the game of governance. 47 years after, it has taken a group of Nigerians to go into a class action, this thing, to compel the government of Nigeria to do what all responsible governments do.
And it's even also instructive that
our children go to those schools.
Many of them can't come because of all of this. And they are saying that the wounds are still fresh, that there is no wishing that away. The wounds are still fresh.
500
what
years,
should be the medicine?
The American Civil War happened more than 100 years ago. And yet people are still battling themselves over the statue of one Confederalist or one. Look, the wounds of war are always fresh. It takes matured minds and people with initiative, people with creative thinkers, people who don't see victory as an ultimate and eternal fact. History does change. The victor today could be the victim tomorrow.
I'm looking at the way this administration started in its treatment of people from that region, and then, of course, this now, you know, they are poles apart. Would you say that it's about the government rethinking its move, or it's just a political move because of 2019?
The personage of the president gives sometimes a very confusing signal about, and you know what? The man, we must give it to the fact that he is a gerontocrat of a sort. Now, you're talking about a man in his just about his mid-70s. The way he sees the world may be a bit different from the way we see the world. And he was also a participant and victim. You never go to war and come out
the same. Okay, so now that we have this on our hands, and you still have, on the other hand, some saying, look, it's not about tokenism, it's not about symbolic gestures. It's about putting in place sustainable, developmental processes that can really, truly give not only the Southeast, but every Nigerian that sense of belonging.
come to the ultimate issue in this part of the world, the quality of governance. When you are aspiring to hold an office, what were you thinking of?
Were you thinking of the nation or
the
next election?
When you were canvassing for the votes of the electors of your constituency, what were you thinking of? When you were told that you've won the election, you must remember that in our system, it's not the same day that they pronounce you as the winner that you'll be sworn in.
Yeah.
The period between when you were declared the victor of the electoral process or the electoral combat, and the period that you constitutionally, were sworn in, what were you putting in place? And once you came in, after being sworn in, how have you methodically gone about raising the standard of governance from what used to be that made your electors, the Nigerian electorate, to say, you know what, we've tried that.
All right, now finally back to
the
issue you raised
earlier.
The issue you raised earlier, because we have to wrap now, on the slow movement or inactivity of past governments. OBJ, Olusegun Obasanjo, did pardon...
Not only past government,
Obasanjo,
you cannot also excuse this government.
Yes, of course. Obasanjo did, forgive these police pensioners in 2000. And it's taken how many years after for Buhari to now, put at least, give them something?
One of the ills of governance in Africa is the seeming irresponsiveness, not irresponsible, irresponsiveness of governance generally in Africa.
How do we take that?
Obasanjo, when he forgave them in 2000, it was just his first term, but he still ran for second term in office. So why didn't he do anything?
It did not occur to any of the bureaucrats, technocrats,
to do anything.
Political appointees to think for something years, 45, 40 years after, these people may be dying. Pay them their pension.
Yes, thank you very much for your analysis at this time. Bola Oba, social commentator, thank you for analyzing the situation with us.
Thank you.